we introduce our research about agenda setting and preferences. Our goal is to answer the question, who lead the agenda, how lead the agenda, and we have to search more and more and more, and we would like to compare with theories, for example, about the majority party, Bakubins, Cox and Bakubins, and other authors. Spatial models of voting are used to estimate the preferences of the actors. You know, there is a literature about that. The dimensions, important dimensions, are ideological position, balance, quality of the proposal. More balance allows to overcome gridlock. Proposers face a trade-off between two potentially opposite objectives: to increase the probability that the amendment passes, to get the approval of an amendment which is as close as possible to his or her favorite outcome. Introducing projects with higher balance helps in overcoming the distance between the proposed favorite alternative and the median favorite alternative. The literature, the first assumptions. I try to be very efficient in my communication and fast. Balance. Most of the previous literature assumes that the balance of the proposal is given, like as the technical attribute of the object, the proposal. For example, Lundgren balance as an attribute of the proposal. In the legislative agenda, what we observe is a random sample of many possible proposals, and the media legislature has to vote yes or not. In presidential systems, the executive or the majority party is able to introduce higher balance because of its advantage in terms of resources, capabilities, posts, etc. Our assumptions. Balance is endogenous to the legislative process in a very dynamic game related to interests and positions of the actors, costs, transactions, use of political rationality to produce consent, etc. We observe what it has been proposed, but not the entire universe of what could have been proposed, because of the strategic decision of the agents involved, both the proposer and the legislators. The proposer decides how many resources and effort to invest in order to increase the balance and likelihood that it passes. The observed proposal does meet certain standards defined by the proposer. And the costs. In principle, a proponent could create a bill of characteristics that significantly increase the likelihood of approval, but the associated costs may be too high. Providing balance is costly in terms of time, effort, and resources, but it increases the likelihood of approval. Implications about these assumptions. Models which not consider important strategic decisions of the agent involved lost valuable information about the preferences of the proposers and voters. Secondly, current models are able to measure observed balance, but they are not able to measure the cost in generating such a balance, which is exactly the resource advantage. Third, a model that considers the endogenous selection of the balance gives the possibility to measure the executives or majority parties' supposed advantage in terms of the ability to manage the agenda and the supposed advantage of resources to prepare projects. And we work in a model. Our proposal is, again, theoretical model of legislative voting with costly bill proposing. Preferences of the agents have two components: a private value component, ideology, and a common value component, balance. Game in two stages. First stage, a proposer introduced the bill or amendment to be voted by legislators, the rational proposer defines the ideological stance and the balance with two goals: to satisfy his own ideological position and to increase the probability that the bill gets approved. The associated costs endogenously determine the characteristics of the proposals put for legislators' consideration. Second stage, the observed legislative voting process takes place once a substantial bill selection has been done. The legislators vote to accept or reject the proposal against the status quo policy. On balance, we might observe a project of high balance for two reasons. The proposed preferences are very far from the median of the legislators. The relative costs of developing and high balance projects are low for the proponent. Our general setup. The proposer I determines the ideological content of a proposal P and its balance QP. Every legislator likes a higher balance, providing balance is costly. Preference over proposals are represented by a utility function, well known. XP is the ideological preferred point of the legislator or proposer. ZP is the ideological position of the proposal. QP is the balance of the proposal, and the quadratic function, utility function, is working well. The agenda setup. The objective of the proposer is to maximize the expected value of his proposal. To maximize the expected value of his proposal, the proposer sets ZP and QP ideology of the proposal, balance of the proposal to maximize. And here we have the utility functions, probability yes, the probability 9, and the associated costs. The probability of the proposal passes is a very complicated mathematical object. So we work in the solution in the future we will make a structural analysis, but now we work with analogies. The probability of approval varies across legislators. That is very difficult to estimate. The idiosyncratic shocks have effects to estimate both. A more treatable setup. Suppose that the proposer observes or forecasts the idiosyncratic shocks before formulating the proposal. The proposer maximizes its utility subject to the constraint that the median or reference voter approves ex ante. And we have the maximization function ZP QP, and the condition, under the condition that the median legislator has utility. We have is more than zero. The difference between the utility function of the proposal and the utility function of the status quo. A legislator approves the proposal if he has utility, and that is more than the effect of the idiosyncratic shock. Using the traditional utility function and solving this problem by using a Lagrange multiplier, we have this equation. If the error follows a normal distribution, we have a nonlinear probit model, and we can estimate with this model. Unfortunately, the model is identified only if we impose the fact that the reference voter is the median voter. Now, and we work now in this, so you have more details in the paper, many details, but we go to the phase of estimation. Identification, inference, and simulation results. We have some problems to go first. We go to these problems, and then we go to the estimations. The identification analysis seeks to determine whether all the parameters of the model can be uniquely determined given data characteristics and infinite sample size. A model is exactly identified if the information matrix of the joint density of the observations is of complete rank. This condition is not met if one can obtain one of the first order conditions of the maximum likelihood estimator from the other first order conditions. We prove that the model is not identified if we introduce both individual and static fixed effects. That's the error, the mistake. Since the focus is placed on estimating ideological and individual preferences, we need to parameterize the status quo time-varying effects as a linear combination of time-varying variables. In our model, the individual ideological fixed effects XB are identified if the status quo effects are parameterized. The voting component is represented as a linear index of time-varying variables. And the ideology of the voter of reference is arbitrarily given. We will explain how we do that. Other problem related before we go to the estimation, when the number of voters, B, is relatively large with respect to T, the number of polls, it is hard to estimate a large number of individual ideological fixed effects, while we have a reduced number of observations per legislature. We worked only with 390 polls and with 40 senators. We postulate the ideological position of a legislator can be expressed as a linear combination of variables including political party dummies, age, gender, variables concerning physical political support such as percentage of votes to be elected, relative majority in the election, he, she won, dummies for the election year in the sample to senators were elected either 2005 and 2009 in our result. Well, empirical results for Chilean legislative data. We worked with database of the Chilean Senate voting from March 2010 until March 2011. We will work with more years, so 394 elections. Senate is composed by 38 members. There are 40 listed because 2 of them quit to assume as a new secretaries of President Piñera. 2 big political coalitions we have, Alianza and Concertación. Only 4 senators are women, average age are 54. The tables 1 and 2 show the voting record of all the senators during the period grouped by the political parties. Here we have senator party, year 9, abstention, absent, pareo, something special, you will see in the paper, the total. And here you have the senators. The same. In the data we see, it is not immediately clear that the voting record of the senators of the party coalition of the government is supporting bills coming from the executive power, majority power party, if we compare. Political parties forming the main opposition consultation for la democracia, do not exhibit a clearly different voting. This fact suggests that there is some kind of previous negotiation about the content of the bills, or that the balanced dimension of the proposals tend to minimize ideological disagreements. Hence, this observation is consistent with either a significant balanced dimension and or a relevant bill pre-selection process. In the tables 3 and 4 exhibits the main characteristics of senators: sex, age, education, party, circumscriptions, the place were elected, percentage of voting rank, first majority, second majority. Okay. Well, the results, our dependent variable for individual voting is approving, yeah, or rejection. In practice, there is a larger variety of outcomes. Any definition should not only define what yes or no is. We work with two voting models. In one voting models, no is no. In the second voting models, no, abstention, absence is no. And we estimate with both. And we use many variables. So, the results, I finished. For the definition voting 1, so no is no. No is no. Political party affiliation is the most relevant source of ideological preference, in our estimation with these data. Senators belonging to the president's coalition do behave in a similar manner. Senators with only undergraduate degrees tend to be more at the left of the political spectrum. The ideology of the executive power seems to be of low magnitude. This suggests that political preferences of the executive power lie at the center of the political spectrum. Senators seem to approve more proposals as the status quo, measured by the presidential popularity increases. Maybe the last two ideas we have in the James model 1 and 4 mostly show a similar picture in the political order of senators, similar with the a priori right-left order of political parties in Chile. And I'm finished with this presentation. Thank you very much.